and today I'm going to present to you the Volkswagen emission scandal. So first of all, I have some questions for you. Have you ever heard of Volkswagen? How many of you have heard about it? Oh, that's not surprise when most all of you heard about it because they are one of the market leader in the automobile industry. So how many of you would buy a Volkswagen car in the future? Oh, okay. So, but actually after this presentation, you might have a second thought about that one. So first of all, I would like to give you the fun fact, like how to pronounce it correctly. Like in German, they would pronounce it as Volkswagen because they would pronounce the V with F and W with V. So if you got some German friends, maybe you talk to them like Volkswagen and they will find it more familiar. But when it's translated to English, people would pronounce it as Volkswagen, or they could combine them together as Volkswagen. But I just go with Volkswagen then. So with the structure, the first part I would like to give you the summary of the case, and then the second part would be the ethical principles involved in the scandal. The third part, I would explain to you the reasons for the failure of the company, and the fourth part would be the lessons that we learned from the scandal. So what happened in the scandal? In 2006, Mercedes-Benz introduced BlueTech, an advanced technology that would trap and neutralize the emissions and particulates that allow the company to market clean diesel cars. But Volkswagen, under the pressure to produce a comparative response, or will face the repudiation in the marketplace. So that's why in 2009 they introduced the new clean diesel system, but it could not operate within the US allowable limits without poor performance and gas mileage, which was totally not comparative to the BlueTech. So that's why they the Volkswagen solution is to install the computer software that to cheat and then to turn the engine performance when it got the test started, to turn the engine from high performance with high emission setting to low performance and low emission setting. So actually this clean diesels won several environmental awards, although they produce up to 40 times more than the allowable limits. However, this deception was discovered in 2014 by some scientists at West Virginia University. And as a result, the US Environmental Protection Agency repeated the test, questioned Volkswagen, and then triggered its hold of sales, also recall many autos, and then get the internal investigation and also the resignation of the CEO at the time, who is Martin Winterkorn. And then as a result, Volkswagen stock sank by 20% in September 2015, and then another 17%. And they have to spend $7.3 billion to cover the refits, recalls, and other costs of the scandals. So when I analyzing the case, I found that there are 4 ethical principles that involved in this one, which is the respect for autonomy, the principle of beneficence, the principle of non-maleficence, and finally the principle for justice. So with these 4, the first one would be principle for respect of autonomy, that we have the obligation to respect the decision of other people, and that involving the honesty with the ethical executives. They have to be honest and faithful in the business dealings and do not deliberate to deceive or cheat by misrepresentation, overstatements, and partial truth. It is clear that the CEO of Volkswagen have failed to comply with this principle. The second principle is the beneficence. We have the obligation to bring about good in all our actions, and that combined with this one, the principle of non-maleficence. That means first to do no harm, like try not to do any harm, and if there is harm, like we cannot avoid the harm, we should minimize the risk of the harm. And these principles, when they combine together, we should produce more good than harm. But the Volkswagen engineers have failed to do this because they created a defeat device that cheat the standards and produce a car that emits more pollutants and that affect the health of people and to the environment. And finally, the principle of justice. We have the obligation to provide with whatever the people deserve or they are owed. So the customer of the Volkswagen deserve to have a car that live up to the money that they pay. So they should have like a car that truly protect the environment. But they were cheated and then deceived instead of like a car that is not clean to the environment. So with the reasons to failure of the scandal, I just apply the crisis fraud triangle, which will provide about the pressure, the opportunity, and the rationalization of the company. So with the pressure, the Volkswagen engineer have to put in under the pressure from the top management. They were autocratic management style and single-minded who insisted on succeeding, and the engineer also have to maintain the reputation of being the market leader of the industry. So they also receive the pressure from the competitors like Mercedes that have more advanced technology to them. With the opportunity also present because coinciding with the directive, the engineer received that to have come up with a new system. Porsche has sold Volkswagen a diesel engine management system that allowed to detect a vehicle were being tested and then turn on the emission controlling devices. But actually that was intended to be used for internal testing only because use for a vehicle that sold to the public was illegal. However, they just use it into the car that sold to the public. And also a modern cars will operate with about 100 million lines of software code, so making it easy to hide the cheating code amongst the complexity of the car. And with the rationalization, in 1970s, Volkswagen engineers already installed a computer software that cheated on the newly enacted emission standards. And the consequence was minimal. It was just $120,000 at that time. And another case in 1998, which is $1 billion from the truck and engine makers. So the engineer of Volkswagen may rationalize that they could just cheat once again and the punishment would be light. And perhaps they may thought that because this solution will be in the best interest of the company and the management would approve. So they did it. And that's why I come to the analysis, which is the lessons for the company should have learned from the scandal. The first one is cheaters never prosper. Because how much money they make it, they will definitely pay off with all the cost of cheating and damage and recover for the victims of the scandal. So that's why, in other words, being dishonest in the business dealing will never pay off in the long run. And aligning with company's value and culture. So we may have asked, like, why didn't any of the technicians or designer, engineers, or test engineers of the company blow the whistle to the top management or the regulators? Blowing the whistle means exposing the information and activity that is illegal, unethical, and not correct in the organization. I may suspect that there were good number of employees who want to do this, but perhaps they cannot come forward with their retaliation. This is because of the company's closed culture. So we can address this by encourage open communication and collaboration. And another benefit that open communication will bring is innovation. And in an industry that Volkswagen involved, taking a leading position in the industry is crucial. So that's why the company should encourage the employees for open and sustainable behavior. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening. Thank you.